So now the range continues to be go for launch, and we're monitoring the clearance area around the launch pad as well as air and sea space around the flight corridor. Even though we have been keeping an eye on some possible storm cells near the launch site, the conditions are predicted to be acceptable for launch. Downrange landing zones, if needed for an escape, are also go. Now, the full retraction of that crew access arm is expected to take about 2 minutes and will be followed almost immediately with the arming of the launch escape system.
Crew arm retraction is complete.
There is confirmation that that's complete. And with that, I'll hand it back to you, Kate.
Thanks, Ronnie. As we heard, the crew access arm is now moved out of the way. It is in its launch configuration. This is one of the last physical changes to the pad that we will see prior to the liftoff of the AX-3 crew. The next milestone that we have coming up will be arming of the launch escape
Dragon
system.
SpaceX, with that, you are go for Section 6, close visors, and arm launch escape system.
Once we hit T-0, we'll watch Falcon 9 and Dragon lift off from historic Launch Pad 39A, which you have a great view of right now, and begin to make their ascent. At about 43 seconds into flight, Falcon 9's engines will throttle down to help us pass through the period of maximum dynamic pressure on the rocket, or what we typically refer to as max Q. It's worth noting that once we hit max Q, the vehicle will be going supersonic, or faster than the speed of sound.
Once we are through the period of maximum dynamic pressure, we can throttle up our Merlin engines again. From there, at about 2.5 minutes into flight, we have a series of 3 events that happen in rapid succession. First is MECO, or main engine cutoff. This is where all 9 Merlin engines shut off in preparation for stage separation. Stage separation is where the first stage detaches from the second stage, with the first stage making its way back to Earth for landing as the second stage continues on its journey with the third event.
That's second engine start 1, or SES1, where the Merlin vacuum engine on board stage
Expect
2.
loud venting from the vehicle in 30 seconds.
Where the engine on stage 2 lights up and propels the second stage, along with our AX-3 crew and Dragon, into orbit.
As stage 2 heads towards its targeted drop-off orbit, stage 1 will execute 3 burns in order to make its way back to Earth. The first is the boost back burn, where 3 of the Merlin 1D engines will reignite and shut down. This heads the first stage back to Cape Canaveral. The second burn, or the entry burn, helps slow the stage down in preparation.
Falcon 9 tanks are venting for the startup propellant load.
Second burn, or entry burn, helps to slow the stage down in preparation for that entry back into the Earth's atmosphere. And about 90 seconds after Dragon gets into orbit, Falcon 9 will land back on Earth. The landing burn will bring the vehicle speed down rapidly in order to land back on land near the launch site about 8 minutes into the mission.
And while that first stage is heading back to Earth, the second stage will cut off its Merlin engine that was ignited right after stage separation. Once this happens, we'll wait for confirmation of a good orbital insertion. Then, Dragon will begin preparations to separate from the second stage. About 3 minutes after the second stage reaches orbit, we should have a great view of Dragon with its 4-person crew drifting away from stage 2. Once Dragon is a short distance away, it will begin checking out its Draco maneuvering thrusters to make sure Dragon continues to increase separation distance from the second stage.
The nose cone deploy sequence will initiate just before T plus 12 minutes and then finish around T plus 15 minutes. This will expose Dragon's docking mechanism in advance of its arrival at the International Space Station. Event that we have coming up is the terminal count for Dragon. This involves a couple of things, but primarily just means that Dragon will be transitioning to internal power. Great view there of the Dragon capsule, as well as the Dragon trunk, which is the unpressurized section just below the pressurized section, which of course is where we have the crew sitting. Propellant remains underway. We are completely loaded with all of our RP1, that rocket grade kerosene. We're still underway.
Falcon 9 tanks are pressing for strong back retract. Dragon is in configure for terminal count.
So like Kate mentioned, we are heading into terminal count, and Falcon 9 is ready for that configuration. We also just heard the call out that the Falcon 9 tanks are pressurized for strong back retraction. The strong back is that white structure you see to the right of the vehicle right now. That's used not only to connect the vehicle's umbilicals, but also as a structural support system.
The strong back is retracting?
Up until it begins to retract, which we just heard the call out for here. That's the mechanism we use both to move the rocket out to the launch side and pull it into its vertical orientation ahead of launch.
Gas close and started. Expect loud venting.
Call out to our crew there that loud venting is expected.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Engine full power. And liftoff. Go Axiom 3.
Further beyond, opening the door for more to follow. Godspeed AX3.
Stage 1 propulsion nominal.
Of course, if you are just joining us, this is the launch of the Axiom 3 launch to the International Space Station. Those incredible views on your screen, and there's our first shot of the AX3 crew inside Dragon on ascent. Now, in just a few seconds here, we should hear the call out that Falcon 9...
power and telemetry. Stage 1 throttle down.
There's that call out that Falcon 9's engines are throttling down to help us pass through the period of maximum dynamic pressure during ascent.
Max Q.
There's that call out for Max Q.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
And that Falcon 9 is going faster than the speed of sound. Now, at this point, we will begin to throttle Falcon 9's engines back up.
Stage 1 throttle up.
There's that call out for mission control as well, as our AX3 crew continues on their way to space.
We're now T plus 1 minute and 32 seconds into flight. The next event we have is MVAC chill, similar to what...
MVAC chill underway.
There's that call telling us that, again, we're flowing a little bit of that super chilled liquid oxygen.
Stage 1 Bravo.
Copy 1 Bravo.
That call there was one of the abort mode callouts that the crew is calling out as they are making their ascent on Falcon 9. Now, we're less than 30 seconds or a few seconds away from 4 events that will happen in rapid succession. Main engine cutoff, or MECO, as it's there on the bottom of your screen, stage separation, ignition of the first stage engine, and the first stage's boost back burn.
Stage 1 throttle down.
That call telling us that the engines are beginning to throttle down.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
SpaceX Dragon 2 Alpha.
Some loud cheers here as we can see that the
Stage 1 boost back startup.
first and second stages have separated. A beautiful view there. The brighter light is the second stage under power of the MVAC engine. That first stage booster is now heading back toward the Florida coast. One thing I love about daylight launches is we're going to get some amazing views. We should be able to see the Space Coast come back into view as the first stage gets closer and closer to landing zone 1. Note that 114, 115 kilometers above the Earth's surface, and it's going to keep coasting for a little bit. Beautiful view there on the right-hand side of your screen of that
Stage
MVAC
1
engine.
boost back shut down.
All right, that boost back burn has concluded on the first stage. Everything looks nominal with the second stage trajectory. Everything also looking good.
Dragon, SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Everything looking good on the first stage as well as we see those grid fins begin to deploy.
SpaceX Dragon, loud and clear.
Now, the next two major events we're tracking for the first stage, which right now is on the left-hand side of your screen, is going to be the entry burn at about T plus 6.5 minutes, where we'll light 3 of Falcon 9's first stage engines, followed shortly thereafter by the landing burn at T plus 7 minutes and 32 seconds, which will be a single engine burn to bring us back to landing zone 1 at Kennedy Space Center.
As we heard the call out, that entry burn has concluded. The next burn will be the landing burn. As I mentioned before, we're heading back to landing zone 1. We're going to come through the clouds right now.
Dragon, SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Everything continues to look nominal
SpaceX Dragon, we copy.
for the second stage there on the right-hand side of your screen. These views really are breathtaking. Such clear, crisp views of both the first stage on the left and the second stage on the right. Right through with these clouds should be our first view. Once again, there it is. Just like magic, we see landing zone 1. Crowds cheering here at SpaceX Mission Control Hawthorne as we tune in to see if we stick the landing. And if you couldn't tell by the loud cheers, we did stick.
Dragon separation confirmed.
As you can see, Dragon has separated from the second stage. A pretty cool view here looking up at the heat shield that will return the AX-3 crew back to Earth in just about 2 weeks. So this is our first view of AX-3 flying free. The next physical change that we will see will be the deployment of the nose cone. That will take...
Dragon, this is the SpaceX Falcon team. We want to congratulate you on a great ride to orbit. I think you're demonstrating the ultimate in reuse, a reused Commander, a reused Dragon, and a reused Falcon. Or maybe flight experience is a better word. Enjoy space.
And Axiom 3.
No, Thurston. As I was saying, it's a team sport. Thank you, guys.
And Axiom 3, this is your launch director here. Walter, Albert, and Marcus. Congrats, welcome to your first flight on Dragon. Mike, on the other hand, welcome to the Dragon Frequent Flyer Club. I imagine you'll have enough miles to qualify for platinum status after this flight. Godspeed, Axiom 3, cheers.
Mark, thanks to you and your team. We're very grateful up here.